What if I told you some of the most perceptive people in the world didn't learn that skill from books, they learned it from survival? Not in a classroom, not from a mentor, but slowly, quietly, through situations that forced them to pay attention. The kind of attention you don't choose, it chooses you. A lot of these people were never called intelligent. They were labeled overthinkers, too sensitive, too intense. So if you've ever felt like your mind works differently, like you're constantly analyzing, picking up on things others miss, like you're already 3 steps ahead in conversations, this might hit closer than you expect. Because what I'm about to explain might finally put words to something you've always felt but never fully understood. Sign 1. You read people with almost uncomfortable accuracy. This isn't guessing. It's not some trick. It's subtle. Someone walks into a room, and before they even speak, something feels off. Maybe it's their tone. Maybe it's the way they avoid eye contact. Maybe it's a smile that doesn't fully reach their eyes. You can't always explain it, but more often than not, you're right. And sometimes that accuracy even makes you uneasy. Here's why. When someone grows up in an emotionally unpredictable environment, where moods shift without warning, the brain adapts. It becomes highly sensitive to tiny signals. Psychologists call this hypervigilance. At first, it's protection, but over time, it becomes automatic. You don't switch it on. It's just always there. Sign 2. You feel things before you can explain them. You've sensed a relationship fading before anything was said. You felt a shift in energy before there was proof. And when you tried to explain it, you couldn't fully put it into words. It just felt true. And then later, it was. That's not random. Trauma, especially early on, is stored differently in the brain. Instead of being processed logically, it's stored in the body, which means your nervous system can recognize patterns before your conscious mind catches up. You feel the answer before you can defend it.
Sign 3. You're comfortable with complexity most people avoid. Most people want clean answers, clear endings, a hero and a villain. But you've learned something different. You understand that people can love you and still hurt you. That two opposite things can exist at the same time. You don't always need things to make perfect sense because you've lived through situations that didn't. Growing up around emotional contradiction forces your mind to adapt. You develop a deeper, more flexible way of thinking. While others seek certainty, you've learned how to function inside uncertainty. Sign 4. Your empathy can feel overwhelming. You don't just understand how people feel, you absorb it. Someone shares their pain, and it hits you physically. A random story, and your chest tightens. Sometimes it's hard to tell where your emotions end and someone else's begin. This is called emotional contagion. Everyone experiences it to some degree, but for you, it's amplified. The same awareness that helps you read people also makes you carry what they feel. And that comes with a cost, because sometimes you take on emotions that were never yours to hold. Sign 5. You pull away right when things start going well. This one's hard to admit. You get close to something good, a relationship, an opportunity, progress, and then something shifts. You hesitate, you withdraw, or you create distance without fully realizing why. Maybe you convince yourself it won't last. Maybe you leave before you can be left. This is tied to your nervous system. If calm and stability weren't familiar growing up, your brain might not recognize them as safe. Instead, they feel unfamiliar, and unfamiliar can feel dangerous. So, without meaning to, You disrupt what you actually want.
Sign 6. Your mind constantly searches for why. Not occasionally, constantly. Why did they say that like that? Why does this situation feel familiar? Why do I react this way? Your mind doesn't just experience life, it analyzes it in real time. This is often linked to something called post-traumatic growth. When you've had to make sense of difficult experiences, your brain becomes wired to search for meaning. Even when there isn't a clear answer, the search itself reshapes how you think. Sign 7. You're deeply self-aware, but still feel stuck sometimes. You understand your patterns, you can explain them, trace them, even predict them, and yet you still fall into them. That gap between knowing and changing can feel incredibly frustrating. But here's the truth. Awareness is the beginning, not the finish line. Your brain doesn't change just because you understand something. It changes through new experiences, repeated consistently, until your body starts to feel safe in a different way. And if any of this felt a little too familiar, just know this: there's nothing wrong with you. You adapted. You learned how to survive in ways most people never had to. And those same patterns, as exhausting as they can be, are also the reason you see the world with a depth most people never reach. One last thing. Understanding yourself is powerful, but actually changing those patterns, that takes guidance. So I've left something in the description and pinned comment. Simple, practical tools designed to help with overthinking, emotional control, and building better habits step by step. Nothing overwhelming, just something you can actually use. If your mind tends to run ahead of you like we talked about, it might be exactly what you need.